And
I was
we're
getting ready to clap.
live. No one wants to hear you clap.
Remember, I'm making a clap. I remember when we used to have to do that every podcast? Three,
Oh my
two,
gosh, I
one,
know.
and then
Three, two,
clap it.
one.
I can't.
Oh, the days.
Okay, oh yeah, we are recording live when I bring my microphone back. Hell yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because then we can actually do it, and we don't have what happened to Sir Nathan, which was a hot piece of trash.
So it was really funny when I saw him there. He was like, "I'm really excited about my episode coming out. By the way, do you know what it is?" And I was like, you have to ask Lavish."
Yeah, I told him at the Drinkathon that unfortunately it wasn't gonna work out, just because of the recording style. But hey, that's just kind of what
maybe
happens
we can
sometimes.
maybe we can bring him back on early next year or something after he's kind of forgotten about it.
Yeah, well, and I know that like Cameron the Tree Fork Lord had gone and listened because, like, whenever we go live, there's that live section on YouTube. Which
Yeah.
hello Twitch and YouTube. And he said he listened to it. And he did say it was very difficult, but he said that it seemed like a ton of fun. So I do think that I'm gonna try to get Nathan to come back and do it again. And you know what?
Okay.
Maybe we even do that. Maybe I try to find time during the holiday week when you're in town with your
When I bring my,
microphone.
because you can borrow my mic for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, but is there anything that you don't want recorded that you want to talk about while probably one person is listening or watching?
um, I broke up with someone on Friday, so that was exciting. And
Is that
because I was,
exciting?
yeah, well, yeah, like it was a girl who like messaged me when I was in Argentina, and I was like, oh, it was like a friend of a friend, and like literally on the first date, she talked about kids for like an hour. I was
Oh
like,
God.
I don't know if that's in my future potentially, right? And
Yeah.
like, I just was not like, I was like, we went out once, and I was like, it's okay, and then like we were texting a lot, and like even while we were texting, I was like, she seems like she's kind of clingy-ish,
Yeah.
and I likes my independence, right? Like I
Hmm.
like I like being involved in a relationship, but there are times where I would be busy working or like when I was playing with when I was at your house, and she was like, "Why haven't you texted me back?" I was like, "I'm busy, like I'm not on my phone 24/7." So, anyways, yeah, I broke it off with her, and then like she was like a friend of a friend, so I told my friend, she's like, "Oh, I can't believe you." I was like, I didn't like you're the one you begged me to reach out to her and go out with her, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry it didn't work out, but whatever.
So I mean, is it
Uh
really breaking up though if you just went on a date?
no. We went out
Okay.
so we went out once, and I was like, I'll give it another shot, right? We'll see how it
Yeah.
goes. And then on the second date, like maybe an hour into it, I was like, I'm spinning my wheels on this. So the
Yeah.
good news is I have now seen exclusively the girl with the tattoos who's cool.
Oh, okay.
She's from Virginia. She talks with an accent. She's got 2 dogs, and we went to the gun range, our traditional 4th date gun range date. And I shot this new gun, like I have a
Yeah.
new shotgun, and we shot this I was like, she was like, "Oh, I'm scared. Like the big guns scare me." And I was like, "Oh,
The big
I was like,
guns scare me.
yeah." It's like, "Well, in that case, you're gonna be terrified." Bang, bang. And she was like, I was like, "Okay, we're shooting the shotgun." So a normal shotgun has like pellets that go out, right? Like,
Sure.
but
Did
here,
this have
because
a
it's a
slug?
clean, yeah. So they only let you shoot slugs at this range,
Oh
and the
God.
only ones they had, they didn't have any target slugs. They had these ones for deer hunting, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna shoot two. I'm gonna shoot two just to see, make sure the gun works and cycles and everything.
Yeah.
Literally, I shot it once, and I was like, I don't ever want to shoot this ever again. It was so strong, and literally, I was like it was like bang, like that, like it was like an elephant gun shooting it. And I was like, okay, Tucker, like, okay, you gotta like pretend to be cool. You gotta be cool, or else she's
Yeah.
not gonna do it, right? If I freak out, she's not gonna want to do it. So I was
Sure.
like, it wasn't that bad. And then when she got up, I was like, okay, here we go. And literally, I was like holding her from behind. And she shot it, and she was like, "I never want to touch this gun ever again." I was like, "I listen. I was trying to be a big strong man, but you are correct. It was
Did
not
it
fun."
absolutely destroy like whatever paper
Oh,
thing you
yeah,
guys were shooting at?
yeah, the hole that punched through was like that.
God,
It's like a cannonball. So I was like, all
Jesus.
right, never mind, never shooting that ever again. We're
Oh
I know
man.
you don't like guns, but aren't you you're like a marksman, right?
I mean, I'm really good at shooting. I just don't like guns.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I've only shot a gun a handful of times when I was in the scouts.
yeah.
And I mean, this isn't like a bragging thing or anything, but I remember when I was doing the rifle range, they gave us all these guns, and I mean, I was within like a penny. And they ended up giving me a worse gun just to give me like some sort of challenge, like one where
Oh,
like the
really?
sights weren't like perfectly aligned. Probably more realistic for like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
what
yeah.
a rifle is, not something that's been meticulously cured for. And then that
Yeah,
one was
for
pretty
sure.
tough. I think I ended up getting that. I mean, within like a small tortilla, just because it was like you just
Sure.
the sights were not accurate. But yeah, I mean, to me,
You got your
shooting
bat
guns.
you got your badges or whatever they
Oh
call
yeah,
them for that,
oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, guns, like, other than with rifles, because I have no idea about handguns, but with
Sure.
rifles, to me, it seems pretty easy. You line it up, you see your
Yeah.
sight, and you shoot. I don't
Right.
understand what the challenge is with it, until you start to get to distance where wind starts to come into
Sure,
play
yeah.
and stuff like that.
The Coriolis effect comes into factor, yeah, which is the curvature of
Yep.
the earth.
Oh
So,
yeah. Isn't that like where like snipers have to like, they see their target and they aim like a foot and a half above it
yeah,
just
because
because
it
it
goes
has
like
to assume the curve.
yes, exactly. Yeah, there you go, kids, the Coriolis effect.
But yeah,
For
the
all
only
you
thing
watching
that
at
I
home.
would talk about that we don't want on recording is,
Yes.
just for the group, life update. I'm probably gonna be even stepping away more from the channel. Just my workload is to the point where I don't have time to do any preparation. And effectively, if I do prep after work hours, which I'm working till about 6 o'clock most days now, which isn't crazy for most people.
Yeah.
But then it's an hour of prep till 7, and then I'm usually recording at night if it's the specialty episodes, or with BigTuck, it'd be in the afternoon. And so then literally I wouldn't spend any time with my wife or have any sanity, just to let my brain decompress. So, Tuck and I are going to try to work on it, figure out, if there's like we're doing today, Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, that could kind of work out advantageous for the content perspective. I know Tuck's kind of thinking about, if there's guests. I know
Yeah.
that SD Sharpie and Marketing Ross have both, are interested in doing brews and builds, so they might start doing it a little bit more. You'll probably see more SCR content from me because that's something that I don't have to do any preparation for. I just show up and play a game, which I hate to say it, but it's kind of like the lazy, easy way that I can still produce content for you guys,
Yeah.
but have it, not literally tax me to the point where I don't want to do any of this. And that's what I'm trying to do is make sure that I don't just get fully burnt out on producing content for you guys because I do like doing it. I do like interacting with the different creators, the different patrons, that subscribe to us. So, just know that you might not see a ton of podcast things from me, but you will see more Twitch gameplays. I will be guesting more on other channels for their Twitch streams as well, just because that is something that's a little bit more manageable for me to do with my time.
Yep. Yep. I'll hold down the fort here as much as I can.
All right. Well, let's get on recording our specialty Christmas episode, which, Gremlins is kind of like Die Hard and Nightmare Before
It's
Christmas, where there's that argument: is it a Christmas
It
movie?
absolutely is. I just watched it for the first time this week. There's snow outside. It's on like Christmas Eve, for God's sakes.
Thank you. If
Who
anything is happening during Christmas, it's a Christmas movie. If the
Yes.
predominance of the movie happens in Christmas, it's a GD Christmas movie.
Get this rolling because I got notes on this. I got notes
All
about the whole
right.
Christmas thing.
Well, 3, 2, 1.
All right. It's a little early, so here we go.
Hey guys, welcome to episode
Yeah.
163 of CMDTower's Brews and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5, and my fellow host should really make sure he follows the rules. BigTuck.
Here we go. Hey boys and girls. Happy
What? I thought it
holidays.
was early.
Well, that's different. I can do this and drive. I do so assuming that we go till noon, I do have a little surprise to have on camera here. Um so it's officially December. Mr.
Yep.
Combo is wearing his wonderful Chiefs themed Christmas shirt. And I'd hate to sound like a bit of a Grinch. I kind of hate the holidays. I kind of hate Christmas time. It's maybe my least favorite. Like I like the idea in a macro, but like I just realized like everywhere the lights look the exact same. Every year it's the same 15 goddamn songs that are playing on loops, right? Like there's just nothing new. There's nothing new for Christmas for the last 150 years. Like I need like Christmas 2.0, right? I need Christmas media. Like we need to get out of the alpha into like the pre-release, you know?
I think what you need to do is I think you need to move to Germany because I'm sure they do like some like metal like
Oh,
EDM type Christmas like fucking black leather and just deck the halls
uh
with halls of jolly fa la 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 la.
see, you just did that on the fly, and people can't do this on the radio. It's madness. I don't know. I hate it. So yeah, you know, I kind of get a little bit of a Grinch this time of year. But you know, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to get in some flavorful decks for this season.
Yes.
It's fun doing this on a Saturday. We haven't done one of these recordings in a while, but anyways, that's enough about me. How are you? And
Well,
you look very tired.
I'm very tired. You could bring that bit back. That'll be
Yeah,
prevalent for a hot minute.
it's back, baby.
But no, I actually think we should open up Brews and Bills by giving a recap of drumroll, please. I don't actually think I have a drum roll on here, so
Come
we'll just
on,
do
you
the
have like 100
heartbeat.
different.
I know. We'll just do the heartbeat. The
Can you do the
drinkathon.
heart? Oh
We,
yeah,
yeah, we got to give a recap of that. So, Sir Nathan came away champion,
yep.
I believe, per the post. Which very excited. Congratulations, Nathan. I
Good
know
job.
that he was feeling a little in the dumps earlier in the day because he kept getting third or fourth, and he kept getting put in 4 pods where some people were in 3 pods with Ross, which
Yeah.
automatically meant you got first or second because Ross wasn't there all day. And so I know he was feeling it a little bit, but to be able to come away with the victory was very, very cool.
Yeah. You got
Unfortunately,
you got second, right?
no, I think I got third because this was recapped to me because I don't remember the championship game at
Yes.
all.
I also am a little hazy near that point of the night.
Yeah, but SD Sharpie told me that it was pretty much a battle between him and Sir Nathan and the other 2 players. It was me and Dennis were effectively just not even involved in the process.
Wait, I wasn't in the I thought I was in the championship.
It was me,
Did I
Dennis,
make did I make that up?
maybe.
Oh shit. Wow, that's like a Mandela effect. I told the girl I'm seeing I got third overall, which is evidently not the case.
That is absolutely correct. That is not the case. But then, of course, in
Ugh.
typical Mr. Combo fashion, I decided at the end of the night I just started giving away more prizes than I allocated. So that's great. Definitely came down the next morning. I'm like, I'm missing more stuff than I
I'm
thought.
missing everything.
Yeah.
So I have something to say about this it was great, maybe the best ever. And part and parcel of that is so Mr. Combo, like he sent out a post and he was like, hey, what food should we order? I'm thinking we
Mm,
order a bunch of Chinese. And I will admit, I was very skeptical. I was like, I feel like I feel like this solution has been solved, right? Like this
Yep.
problem has been completed. It's just we order pizza. And Mr. Combo was like, well, he had it last week. Maybe we should try something different. So
Yep.
he got together the order, very reasonably priced, I might add. I thought at least, right, for how much we got.
Well, yeah. I mean,
And
effectively, like $20 a person rounded
yeah,
up. Got us food for the entire day and still leftovers.
okay, so that's what I was gonna say. So the food got there. I was in the middle of the game. Sir Nathan wouldn't let me get up to go get a plate because he was too focused on beating me, I guess. And then I went up, and it was so good. It was such a great idea. Like it was so like you got the right with the light rice and the noodles. Like it was really heavy, like
Yep.
in a good way, right? It was really filling with the carbs and everything. So that was kind of like the sneaker MVP for me of
Hmm.
the day. I think if we had gone with Indian, that would have led to a disaster. So I'm glad that that didn't get voted out. But that was great. SC Sharpie, shout out to you. You picked some really fun legends to pull out from the winning pool.
Yes.
Mr. Combo with the prize wall as usual. I thought it's really worked out well, right?
Yeah. No.
Outside of Dennis being a scumbag. But
Well,
that's
so
okay.
I wanted to say, so there was one game I want to talk about, and then I'm curious if there's a game that you remember to talk about. Um, I think my Zafi deck is secretly super competitive, and I didn't
Yeah,
realize
you
how
were saying that.
competitive it is. Yeah, there was one turn, guys. The table timed me. I think I took a 30-minute turn, and it wasn't me just sitting
Jesus.
there and it wasn't me just sitting there being like, "What do I do? I don't know." Like, I
Yeah.
was constantly doing spells. I think my storm count was at, like, 50 or 60. I
God.
ended up having, off Zafi's ability, some 32 or 34 4/4 elementals, based on the
Wow.
amount of spells that I had cast. Like, it just kept going, and I feel genuinely bad about it because I wanna say at about the 15-minute mark, 20-minute mark, I had those elementals, and I had an expropriate, so I was getting 2 extra turns after that.
Yeah.
I should have just passed the turn and then, like, okay, go to combat, I win, because they had
Oh,
nothing to do. But I just, in my head, I kept thinking like, no, I need to keep going because like I don't have the win on board yet. So I
yeah.
genuinely do feel bad about that, because that, if you got the win, you got the win. Just freaking
Yeah,
do
right.
it.
Well, they also could have just scooped it up, right? Like I kind of feel like
Well, and I had asked a couple times, and that was
yeah.
one game that Sir Nathan was involved in, and he was just like, "No, play it out. I need to see it." And it was just like, and I appreciate that because I
Yeah,
do that as
cuz
well. If
well,
someone's
and
just like, "I
sometimes
win," it's like, "Well, how do you win?"
right, and then, like, sometimes you play it out and they're like, "Oh, actually, like, I'm stuck," right?
Mhm.
Like, it seems like they have a loop going or, like, they have their win con. I also love that Zaffi is I know he's a popular commander, and I love how on the frickin' mana on the box, it refers to him by the wrong name in the rules
Yep.
box, which
And
is
I think it's a
hysterical.
she. Is it a she or a he?
I think it's a he. It looks like he has a goatee.
Well, hey, ladies have
Yeah.
goatees.
It looks yeah, it's a guy. It's for sure a guy. Savine, I think, is a lady. Wait, no, Savine is a guy too.
Oh yeah, Savine's definitely a guy.
There's a way to tell, right? You just search their name plus anime porn, and if you get hits, it's likely gonna be a female. I gotta go
So
with my
that's the
instinct
game.
on this.
Yeah, so that's the game that I wanted to highlight just because I do secretly think I'm gonna have to like take my Zafi out of consistent rotation because I just think it's too strong.
You think have you globetrotted every time you played it pretty much?
I think I've only ever lost once, and I've probably played the deck 10 times.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
that's
I
a
mean
pretty
it
good
has a
ratio.
super high win rate. So is there a game that you kind of remember that you'd like to talk about?
Um, there's two. One is with so a while ago we talked about Tivit, the secret keeper,
Hmm.
the enter the battlefield and vote
Yep.
Sphinx. So I took apart Brea because that deck was too powerful and kind of used those parts to build that. And I've
Okay.
now made a deck that is arguably even more powerful. I was
Wait, how's
so
that possible? Because you had Brea, and then I was like, "Hey, do a companion Zerta to make it like more restrictive," and then I think it
and then it
became
got
more
way
powerful.
better.
And now you're saying that this deck is even more powerful than that?
I think so because it's more consistent and it's like it's more streamlined. But every time I played it, it's just a workhorse. So I felt good about that. And then I got to play the one game. I remember playing the game with you and Squee McGee
Yep.
back from Exile. And that Prosh deck, that Jund deck is like it's my first deck I ever built. I traded it out. I'm thinking of swapping the commander again. I think I'm gonna take a page out of your book and put in Zayatora instead of
Oh,
Sakar for
okay.
because of I saw how that goes with the 60 CMC tribal. But yeah, that deck just went off. It's just insanely good. So that was really fun. It was just fun. Mostly that was really fun because that's the first time the three of us have played, just the three of us, in what,
Oh god.
maybe two
Years.
years, maybe
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah.
So it was good.
It's
It was
been a
just
hot
fun to get
minute.
the band. It was fun to get the band back together. It was fun that we all wore matching shirts. So there you go.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, I know what you're here for. Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we've conquered our path to 32, tackled tons of EDH themes, we're going to be discussing, or rather, theory crafting decks that do not exist yet. Each month will consist of new decks, and we correlate how these decks are constructed similar to how beer is brewed. So we really broke this down into 4 different categories. The first one's ramp and setting your board state. We call that grain.
Yes, and grains are the foundation of a beer. They include both base malts and specialty malts, usually at about a 60-40 ratio. This helps with the color, the taste, and most importantly, the alcohol content of the beer. Damn it. I literally can't. I have to read it. Decks always need ways
What?
to
How do
grow,
you have to read
stable.
it? It's been 3 or 4 years.
Decks always need ways to grow, stabilize, and ramp into your threats. And just like a grain profile, they usually mix of staples and specialty cards. I literally, I've read that, 162 times? Maybe
Well, you know
more?
what? I can't really make fun of you because literally when me and Sir Nathan were doing this, I couldn't remember any of what you said, and I've heard you say this 162 times. So we'll just move past that.
Yeah.
How does your board interact with all of your opponents? We correlate that to hops.
And hops give the beard's patented bitterness and herbal floral flavors that grow in a variety of strands and help distinguish subcategories like IPAs. Our hop choices help clear and interact with the board so your deck can do what it wants.
And then how does your deck actually close out or win the games? We call that yeast.
And yeast are living microorganisms that eat the sugar from the grain and poop out alcohol and CO2. It adds alcohol content and the carbonation. Without yeast, you'd be drinking flat sugar water. Without yeast cards, your deck wouldn't meet the goal of actually winning the game.
And then we have shenanigans. This could be fun, kind of pet card synergies, which I actually have 2 today that we just
Oh.
kind of think could fit in the deck. We call that spice.
And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It could be the vanilla that turns a stout into a vanilla stout. Adios, jalapeno. Or the addition of hops that turn an IPA into a double IPA. Not every deck has something that makes it pop, but if it does, this is where we generally talk about it.
All right, so without further ado, let's get brewing today. Tuck and I, we've been on a recent kick of trying to bring newer legends to
Yes.
brews and builds. Instead of talking about stuff that was printed 8 years ago or 7 years ago, which can sometimes still be fun, we've definitely seen in the community that you guys are more jonesing,
Yes.
not for a cigarette, but for new legends and ideas. So we're going to be talking about a special monkey today, but what
Woo!
Tuck and I decided to do for the month of December is one of us would pick the legend each week, and then the other would pick a Christmas movie that we have to try to theme our cards around. So today we're going to be talking Kibo Ukatabi Prince. Big Tuck, why don't you read what this special monkey does, and I'll kind of talk and talk about why you chose this monkey, and then I'll
Yeah.
talk about the movie that we're doing and why I chose that movie.
And we'll litigate while we're there, we will litigate what counts as a Christmas movie because you and I are both in agreement with
Oh
this.
yeah, absolutely.
And people who are not, we'll get there. So Kibu Uktabi Prince is 2 colorless and a green for a 2/2 mythic legendary creature, monkey noble, fresh out of Jumpstart 2022. Also, for those playing the home game, do not buy the $40 Brothers War Jumpstart. It's supposed to be trash. Spend the money to get the Jumpstart if you want to Jumpstart. And he has an activated ability that each player creates a colorless artifact token named Banana with tap and sacrifice this artifact, add red or green. You gain 2 life. Mr. Combo correctly pointed out this is the only part of the card that is red in the color identity,
So
which
frustrating.
is really strange. But what are you gonna do? Then whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control that's an ape or a monkey. And then whenever he attacks, defending player sacrifices an artifact. Yes, it's a prince.
Yes.
I love this because when I first started playing in Type 2, Uktabi Orangutan, 2 colorless and a green for a creature ape when it ETBs destroy target artifact, was kind of like the Reclamation Sage of the time. It was before Reclamation
Sure.
Sage got printed. And in that art, there are 2 monkeys in the background that look like they are copulating. Even though if you look at the artwork, they're not. It just is kind of a funny, hidden kind of Easter egg. And the mythos is that this is their kid out of all that. So that's one of the reasons why I chose
Oh,
it. Yeah,
okay.
that's
That's
one.
kind of cool.
If you go, someone else pointed out, if you go to Ukatabi Kong, there's 2 similar monkeys and one of them is pregnant. So it's like an in joke for wizards. So I like that just because it's cool. I always like odd tribals, and I'm starting to try to do more of what Mr. Combo does, which is play play themes in color combinations that are kind of outside the box, right?
Mhm.
And I think that this is kind of a unique one, right? I think there's a lot of different ways this can go. I think this is a kind of and the kitchen sink commander, right? Like everything on there is good. There's a lot of different ways to
Mhm.
build around him. And I love artifact tokens, bananas or otherwise. But if you play this thing, I think if you build this deck, I think you need to buy runts and just the banana ones, like a 500 pack of just the banana runts to represent this. So I thought this would be a fun one to talk about, and especially if we put some sort of theme behind it. So, what did you think about the card when you first saw it?
So I thought the card was interesting. I mean, obviously, there's not a ton of ape or monkeys just in Magic in
Yes.
general. But in the GRUUL colors, I think there's a total of 40 that you can play, maybe 45, not counting like silver bordered
Yeah.
or otherwise. Um, it definitely felt on theme for the monkey because if you look at Kolga, it kind of does a similar thing. Hey, whenever it
Yes.
attacks, defending player sacks an artifact. So it definitely felt right for a monkey. It just frustrates me as Tuck and I talked to offcast that this is a gruel card and not mono green, and I get it. If it was mono green, then the banana would kind of be worthless because
Right.
adding
Yeah.
red or green, it's like, well, you can't even use the red mana for anything. It would just might as well be colorless. But to me, the way I look at Magic, this card doesn't have an activated ability that's red. So it
Yes.
produces a
Right.
colorless artifact named Banana. They should have at least said, "Hey, it produces a red artifact token named
Ah.
Banana."
Right.
Boom, we're good. I mean, that wouldn't really fit because bananas aren't red. If anything, bananas would be green. But hey, that would at least kind of take care of my mind.
it
But
it even you just solidified your own argument even better. Bananas are green off once they're picked, right? So why isn't this mono green?
yeah, I have no idea. But when I saw this, I started trying to think of like a Christmas movie. First thing that came to mind was Dunstan Checks In, not a Christmas movie.
Decidedly not
I
a
don't,
Christmas movie.
yeah, I don't think it is anything to do with Christmas at all. So I was trying to find a monkey Christmas movie, and the closest thing I could find was like a Curious George thing. So
Ugh. Okay.
I kind of looked at this though, and I got some inspiration. Whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you get a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. That's an ape or a monkey. So that really speaks to me from the aspect of your opponents have to follow the rules. They
Right.
should not be putting artifacts in the graveyard because then it's going to make your horde bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right.
They
Right.
need
Right.
to listen. They need to follow the rules. And what Christmas movie speaks to following the rules? Here's the synopsis. We'll see if you guess it. A gadget salesman is looking for a special gift for his son and finds one at a store in Chinatown. The shopkeeper is reluctant to sell him the Mogwai, but sells it to him with the warning to never expose him to bright light, water, or to feed him after midnight. All of this happens, and the result is a gang of gremlins that decides to tear up the town on Christmas Eve. The title of the movie is in the synopsis. We're
It's
talking gremlins.
we're talking
So
Gremlins.
I really picked it because your commander is effectively Mogwai and the shopkeeper. You know,
Right.
it's literally telling you do not put artifacts in the graveyard. And what do we see rampant in Magic right now? Treasures. And those have to be
Right.
sacrificed to be put into the graveyard. And even I'm even seeing kind of like an uptick in clues, at least in our local play group.
Oh, sure.
And
Yeah.
that's an artifact that goes to the graveyard. And it's just like it's you can't be mad at me. Like this is a deck that you sit down and you're like, guys, if you just follow the instructions, everything will be fine. But if you start trying to
Yeah.
sack my bananas that I give you to get mana and value and gain life, well, my stuff's going to get bigger and I'm going to start
You're gonna have to
clapping
pay.
at you.
You're gonna have to pay the piper, man. You're gonna have to pay the piper. It's
Absolutely.
as easy as that.
So that was
I
kind of the inspiration behind that.
It was great, and I thought that was awesome. I thought it was a great inspiration. I had also never seen I'd never seen Gremlins before. Never.
I still haven't seen it.
Wait, what? You didn't do your homework? It's
I
on
don't
H.
have time.
Oh, fair enough. It's on HBO Max. So
Okay.
so you can get it there. And it's good. It's really good. It's a classic. It held up pretty well. So yeah,
I was
like
about
I
to
think that
ask,
was
did
like
it hold up like over time? Because I want to say they actually did like animatronic stuffed animals for a lot of that stuff.
it looks really good. Like you
Okay.
can tell. I mean, you can tell they're puppets, right? And like
Sure.
it's all forced perspective. But like I think that you just don't see that anymore, right? Like everything's
Mhm.
all CG. It's all green screen. This is like practical effects. And it's really good. It's not really scary. But okay, it's good. Here's the thing: if a movie takes place during Christmas, regardless of what it's about, it's a Christmas movie, right?
Absolutely.
And I also think that this one is real. So if I can take off my Brews and Builds and put on my petition play hat, I think Gremlins is actually really about consumerism and like buying stuff because a lot of it takes place in a mall, right? Like the gremlins go, like they go get drunk, like it's a lot of it like it's being like greedy, right? Like, oh well,
Uh-huh.
we have all like we were given these specific rules, which might like you might translate to like a budget, right? And you get
Mhm.
wrapped up in the season and everything, and then you're like, oh okay, well, I went over my budget, so now I'm in debt, right? Like you like these things have consequences that maybe you don't see. Maybe I'm reaching too much, but it does work out very well for this sort of. It's a sneaky deck. They're kind of ornery little things. I think that's kind of how this deck
Sure.
feels, right? It's like it's a very much like open hand, like it's like a slap and a tickle, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, to kind of go back even to the Christmas movie thing, I think if you look at any Christmas movie that does not specifically include Santa Claus,
Yeah,
reindeer, the Grinch, it just take the very on its surface. But every Christmas movie is literally just a normal movie taking place at Christmas. Four
yes,
Christmases. What is that movie? It's Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon going to their different divorced families
right,
all in one day or weekend and just spending time with them. And it just so happens to be at Christmas.
right. Yeah,
You look
it
at
could be it could easily be 4 Thanksgivings, right?
exactly. Christmas Vacation. Yes, it all takes place at
Yeah,
Christmas, but what is that? It's just a family get together where calamity and chaos ends up happening. So,
you
oh man, it
you
gets me
made
so hot and heated.
You mentioned that you've had to have this conversation about the movie A Nightmare Before Christmas. Is there a group of
Yes,
people out there that don't think that's a Christmas movie?
my wife doesn't think that's a Christmas movie. She says it's a Halloween movie.
It's not. Well, it kind of is, I guess, but it's a Christmas
It,
movie.
the Halloween is in that movie for all of, I don't know, 5 minutes,
Yeah,
and
right.
then it's
Exactly.
all building up to Christmas.
Yeah,
That's
they do
it.
their little "This is Halloween" song and dance,
Yeah,
literally, and then it's a
exactly,
Christmas movie after that. That's
exactly.
yeah, that's a Christmas. I mean, it's in the title for God's sakes. So that's insane that you have to litigate A Nightmare Before Christmas being a Christmas movie.
Absolutely. So, all right. Well, one thing I did want to do because I don't think me and Tuck did not talk about this precast, so I'm going to catch him off guard. But I'm assuming he's not talking about these cards. I wanted to do a couple honorable mentions that we will not be discussing, but will you have to have it in the deck? You just absolutely have to. Doubling season and parallel lives.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That doesn't really seem on brand for you to talk about those kind of cards.
No, the one actually that I think is a sneakier pick of all those is that actual Primal Vigor.
Uh
Because
huh.
normally there's a drawback because it's one or more tokens would be created, period. So people are like,
Yep.
we'll just run parallel lives and doubling season. But here, like you want that to happen, right?
Yep.
You want these artifacts to be generated because you get a lot of value out of it. And then so yes, like again, I'm not talking about those, but you absolutely have to have those. Like the advantage that you get for putting those in here is like through the charts.
Yeah, just being able to yourself create multiple bananas, being able to do multiple +1 counters, and then with the Primal Vigor example, I didn't even think of that. Giving your opponents more opportunities to put artifacts in the
Yeah.
graveyard is also a banger. So as we're not going to be talking about them, but those are three cards. Absolutely, if you decide to build a Kibo, probably Kibo deck in general, but especially if you're going with our Gremlins theme, you kind of have to have them.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed with that.
All right. Well, we're going to get into this, but before we get to our rant and green section, we would love for you guys to check out our amazing patron community, patreon.com/CMDTower. We do have many, many different tiers on there, from literally $3 a month up to, as much as you're willing to give. Our $3 tier just gets you a lot of the soft value access into the Discord, which definitely thank you, Marketing Ross and SD Sharpie, for really kind of manning that community. They really try to drive a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
We have great, great patrons in there. Like we mentioned earlier, Came of the Tree Folk Lord is definitely someone who's vocal, kind of has a different thought into the game. Spencer Rabbits is always a troll as he should be, and we just have a really great community there. But it also does give you opportunities to be on Brews and Builds. It gives you opportunities to potentially be on Slinging Cardboard Rectangles, be able to submit in your own decks for deck text, just a whole slew of options. Plus, after the new year, we will be starting our Sunday patron takeovers where you guys actually can run your own stream with one of the members of the CMD Tower crew, whether it's me, Big Tuck, SD Sharpie, Mr. T, Marketing Ross, actually kind of doing like a voiceover commentary of it for the Twitch community, which should be a lot of fun. It won't be monotone, I promise you. It'll probably be someone in the tank. But
Confirmed.
if you have a little bit of extra that you would like to throw to help support us, just remember patreon.com/CMDTower. Now we're going to get into that ramp and grain section. And how do we do this? Like, I would say since you picked the legend, you go first.
We flip for it.
We flip for it. Well, you would think I have a coin near me. Haha, I do. All right. I'm gonna take the ragged side of Two Face because I am very
Okay.
ragged this morning. And then we'll do it to where I pick, just like we do over at drafting. But this time
Yeah.
I'll probably choose to go first. But let's see. Chika. Tuck, you're going first.
Yeah. All right. I want to go first. Okay. So this is a card that I spec'd on, and it hasn't really gone crazy. But it depends. It's very meta dependent. But this card will bring a little bit of Christmas spirit, maybe with a bit of a party or perhaps
Okay.
a revel in Viridian Revel. So this is a great like an all-star in the right meta, especially like in one that's heavy with like the cards that we're talking about. So Viridian Revel is a colorless double green for an enchantment. It's about $130 for a Mirrodin. Whenever an artifact of any varietal is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, you may
Oh,
draw a
that's
card,
nice.
right?
That's
So
nice.
I love this card in here because you're not only are you like you're getting value from just playing the game, right? Like
Hmm.
our strategy is giving out tokens, is giving these things out, right?
Yeah.
But now not only are they getting counters, we're also drawing cards. And again, if you look through it, like with just Kibo out, you tap, you could potentially draw three. You could it kind of turns into like tap, create three tokens, draw three cards down the road, right? One way or
Yeah.
another. So to me, this is like a really good engine, especially for three. It's an enchantment. You're going to get a ton of value out of this.
Yeah. And I think this is something that we've talked about before. Like, what is removal bait? We kind of talked about at the beginning how those three enchantments, Primal Vigor, Parallel Lives, and Doubling Season, are kind of key engines for this deck. But those aren't
Yeah,
cards that you're probably getting down on turn three or turn two. This is a
right.
card you're getting down turn three, turn two, and your opponents will see that immediate value and be like, "Gosh, do I really want every time I sack a treasure to or sack a banana to basically anthem his board permanently and draw him a card?" No. So that
Right.
they'll probably snap try to remove this because they just see the value. And so it's one of those things where it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. Do you want me drawing
Exactly.
three cards every rotation? Or would you rather me have like double the amount of tokens and double the amount of counters
Right.
and all of this stuff later in the game?
Yeah, that's so again, I have like 5 copies of them and they never spiked. So glad to have a deck that I know they're a slam dunk into.
All right.
Ugh.
Well, my first one, I try to do a blend of ape and monkeys and just other good things that kind of fit this theme. And this seemed like one that I kind of think sneakily this deck might be a Voltron deck where you're trying to get
Ooh.
Kibo in for a lot of damage. Give it Forest Walk. You could play that. Where every land is a forest land type. So I think this artifact creature ape fit very nice. So we're talking Simium Simulacrum
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's new, right?
for, yep, it's 15 cents. Came out in Brothers War. It's a brand new card. Three colorless, rare. It's a 2/1. When Simian Simulacrum enters the battlefield, put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature you control. And then it does have Unearth. Two colorless green green. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it would leave the battlefield, Unearth only as a sorcery. So I,
Yeah.
I see I see part of the theme is you need to protect Kibo as much as you can. Now, there'll be boots, there'll be greaves, there'll be those kind of
Sure.
generic things as well. But one of the easier ways is just to kind of quickly buff it. Because the
Right.
one area I could see is you play Kibo next turn, you give everyone bananas, and they're like, okay, well, let's kill Kibo before we crack our bananas. That way he gets no
Right.
value.
Right,
And
right,
so
right.
this is something to where it gets it out of lightning bolt range, common phrase we use,
Need that.
putting it up to a
Need
4
it.
4. Yeah, it puts it up to a 4/4. So, and the fact that you can unearth it later, if you do use Simium is just like, I'm going to throw you in, and you'll just die to a
Yeah.
blocker or to an attack or something like that. And then now we can unearth it for a 6/6, or maybe we have sacrifice shenanigans, like some
Ooh.
bombarding type things. So what do you think of
Oh.
Simium Simulacrum?
I think it's great. I think like it's easy in these sort of off-color tribes to be like, you have to shove. I don't care how bad the monkey is, it's got to go in, right? Which I don't
Yep,
necessarily. I think we've discussed is kind of like not necessarily needed, right? So I think the
yep.
fact that this thing has the ability to pump them up, has the unearth, and is an ape in and of itself, and one of the good ones, to be honest. I think it's really solid. I think this is a great inclusion, and this is going to be a card that's really going to help you accelerate early in the game.
I will say this though, the art, I don't really see the ape.
I don't like I can't we can't go into this. We can't go down this rabbit hole of arguing like how does something have planeswalk or whatever. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you gotta believe it. That's in there somewhere. I completely agree with you though. It just looks like a robot to me with daggers. Anyways, I agree. It does not look like an ape.
All right, Tuck. Well, what is your next grain card you wanted to talk about?
So I'm talking about all enchantments in the grain. I'm not talking about a
Oh,
single monkey yet. And actually, I think I'm only talking about one the entire time, maybe two. Anyway, so this is a card that I had not heard of before we started building this, but bananas are not enough to give out, right? We got to start giving even more things out to make
okay.
them pay for it. And what do I like more than a clock? I love a clock on a game,
A
right?
watch?
I do like watches. But this card in particular, Descent into Avernus, is going to do a lot of stuff for the table. So, two colorless and a red for an enchantment. It's from Battle for Baldur's Gate. Literally, completely flew under the radar for me. It's about 42 cents. So it's enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 Descent counters on Descent into Avernus. Then each player creates X treasure tokens, and Descent into Avernus deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of Descent counters on Descent into Avernus. So it
Huh.
scales so fast. I think this also is going to make the game go ridiculously quick. And I think
Hmm.
this is also going to be an interesting thing for your opponents to consider, right? Because one person could greatly benefit from this, right? Getting 4 treasures a turn, or like 4 to 6 and even more from there. One opponent could really like this, but another component could be like, I don't want people to get this value for it, right? And then they
Yeah.
burn their removal on this as opposed to the doubling seasons of the world and that sort of thing. And I like the fact it just pings everyone. Like I love that effect. So I think this is kind of a spicy pick in the grain section.
So this is super interesting. I think the thing that scares me the most about it, I mean, it's doing what this deck wants. And here's the thing: we're
Right.
building a deck around a Gremlins theme, not around functionality.
Right.
I feel what really worries me about this is when your descent counters are going to give that blue player the
Oh,
access.
yeah.
So something we didn't talk about is I don't mind the bananas going to blue players because it doesn't give them blue mana. So
For
counter
sure. Yeah.
spells, Cyclonic Rift, anything where they're like, oh well, I'll just tap out and I know I'm going to get value. It's like, well, you still need blue to do it. This
Right.
does give them that blue mana to where it's like, oh, thanks. At the beginning of your upkeep, I got 6 treasures. I took 6 damage. Overload Rift. And then
Yeah.
you're
Right.
like,
Right. Right.
well, shit. I just kind of wasted
Now we're
everything.
going back to
Um,
the beginning.
but that's not what we're here for. We're here for a theme. I like the theme because it's one of these things that, you're going to get punished by the gremlins
Yep.
just off the bat. And then if you further don't listen to the rules, you're going to further get punished by the
Abs-
gremlins.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I think it's cute, especially for 42 cents. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there's decks out there that love this. Oh, I know my Yearlock deck. Writing that down. That's my number 2 pick for grains. What do you got? What
All
do you got
right.
next?
So I'm doing another monkey. It is
Another monkey.
probably the most broken monkey ever printed. It is banned in Legacy. Just got to talk about it
Oh,
because it's one of your ways you can easily kind of progress early in the game. Cheapest copy is $64. Absolutely insane. We're talking Ragavan,
got to
Nimble,
talk about Ragavan.
Pilfer. Yep. So single red to cast it. It's a monkey pirate mythic. It's a 2/1. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card. Then it does have a dash cost, which is usually how most people are doing it.
Yeah.
Colorless red, you may cast a spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste, and it is returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So it's a monkey. We need monkeys. But the reason I wanted to at least put it in is it does give us card advantage and it
Yeah.
does give us a treasure to kind of help progress things further. Plus, I think this is kind of one of the unique times where Ragavan potentially you might do it for the red. so that way it stays on the battlefield and gets all those +1 counters. And then it's like,
Exactly.
okay, it's not just I'm taking 2 and they're getting a treasure and a card off top. It's I'm taking 8.
Yep.
I don't know if I could take 8.
Exactly.
Um, so, once again, I think having not necessarily jamming every single ape or monkey in the deck, but having at least, I would say, mid-tier to high-tier ones in is gonna
Yeah.
be really critical. I just hate that this card is $64
Yeah.
because
It's
I'm not spending $64 on a card for a meme deck.
no, absolutely not. Although let me ask you this: would you allow the Ragavan token as a playtest version of this?
No, just and so we kind of actually talked about that. I can't remember if it was on a stream that I was on, or at the Drinkathon, because once again, the card is so prohibitively expensive. But if you want the effect, you need to pay for the effect. You can't
Sure.
just,
Yeah.
well, I
Yeah.
got a token and now it works. Now, I'll say this: if the token was $65, sure,
Yeah.
spend
I think
$65 on a token and you can use it as a Ragavan.
I think it was like 5 or 10 back in the day, but anyways, I agree completely. I think Ragavan's a slam dunk inclusion in here, especially like you said with the buff, right? Like this is a card that
Mhm.
you get down early, and even if you don't get the swing right away with it, you're gonna be able to put the counters on it. You can dash it out after a board wipe and get advantage incrementally there. So slam dunk in there. It is just insanely expensive, way too
So
expensive.
now I remember what it actually the discussion was. What's the creature that produces the Ragavan token? It's
The
not Lannery
pirate,
Storm,
Kari Zev.
Kari Zev. So the
Yes, right.
conversation was Kari Zev being the commander, and then Ragavan Nimble Pilferer being the
Oh,
token she produces.
oh God.
And then you still exile it and kind of do all the things that the Ragavan token does. And I was like, that seems broken, and no,
That is
thank you.
way too good. Way too good.
All right. Well, what is your last grain card?
So this is we've talked about this one a lot about it being really efficient for the price. Again, now it's like, well, if you want to attack someone, I'm gonna get value out of it too. Slam dunk, Curse of Opulence, one
Ah,
red for an enchantment or a curse, enchant player. Whenever a player is attacked, create a gold token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. It's about $2.20. So it's gone way down. This was like 15 bucks for at some point. So it's easy to pick up. But again, it's like creates treasures, forces people into attacking. You can easily put this on a person early. You can put it on yourself, although I think in this deck it's probably better on someone else because I think you're going to get a lot of hate just with the way the deck is being built. So again, it's
but
not a treasure necessarily, but
I think that's the gimmick of it is I think you want because people are going to be attacking you. I think it's the same thing we talked about, Tuck, where you put it on yourself,
oh,
you're always getting the
oh,
value.
yeah,
And it's one of those things to where I almost would imagine you want to give deterrence from people attacking you. And this is a card that if you put it on yourself, you will
oh,
never get the value because you can't ever initiate it. And now your
right,
opponents are like, well, with Kibo out, do I really want to hit him to get the gold? Because then he also gets a gold. But then my
yeah,
gold is going to filter into his 8 monkey anthems. And
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
this you could
That's a good
almost
point.
argue it's a hops card because it really
Yeah, yeah,
deters people from ever hitting you. Because if you put it on another opponent, it could just be like you're the only one ever hitting them because the other three kind of make an agreement of, hey,
right,
we're
right,
never
right,
going to attack you until we deal with that monkey because we don't want to
right.
get the gold to then filter into his
It
engine.
kind it it kind of turns into like a propaganda. To your point, it kind of turns into like a
Yeah,
propaganda, right? Oddly.
yeah,
So
it
I
really
guess yeah, I
does.
guess it's I guess you're right. It always just goes on the it always just goes on you, no matter what.
I'm telling you, that's the secret tech behind that
That's
card.
the tech. Tech.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about another very popular, expensive card. Oh my gosh, $57. Insane. But I imagine that you are going to have a decent sized army, regardless of the anthems, because most apes are three threes, four fours, five fives,
Yeah.
somewhere in there. So I think this legendary artifact that you could potentially cast for green green is a key. I think the Great Hinge kind of goes in
Oh,
here.
sure. Yeah.
7 colorless green green legendary artifact mythic. It costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. But tap it, add green green, gain 2 life. Effectively almost pays for your commander.
Yeah.
But I think the thing I really do like about it, whenever a non-token creature ETBs under your control, get a 1/1 counter and draw a card. Um, I don't see a ton of token creatures in this
Yeah.
build because there's not a lot of or any ape or monkey. I mean, I guess you could do changelings, um,
Sure.
but it's going to be a lot of your non-token creatures that are apes or monkeys, and so being able to have them initially get that +1/+1, even just your commander, having it
Yeah.
immediately come down as a 3/3 is going to be really critical. I hate that this is $57, and I hate myself more that I didn't buy them when they were 20 or 30 because I thought it was overpriced at that point, and
Yeah.
now I'll probably never own one.
Yeah, I like they're never gonna reprint it at all. But yeah, it's insanely strong. I think like I was gonna say to your point is this is a what do we call it? Go fluffy deck, right? Where it's
Yep.
like a bunch of mid-tier powered non-token creatures. So refilling your hand quickly off of that, being able to recast your commander, gaining the life. This card does it
Hmm.
all, especially in a deck like this. So
Yeah.
slam dunk choice. Definitely maybe one of my least favorite cards ever printed. It's right up there with expropriate. I hate this card so much.
Well, that's going to wrap up our grain section. Before we head over to our next area, we would love for you guys to check out our Etsy store. If you just go to Etsy.com, type in CMDTower into the search bar, you'll see our great selection on there. Tuck, we've actually had two people buy sweaters in the last week.
Hey, that's
That's been
awesome.
pretty exciting. And so, we do actually have a holiday Jund sweater on there with different Brews and builds, accoutrement that good old Mr. Magoo actually designed for us. It's made out
That's
of a
right.
combed cotton. But, we sell our foil playmats on there. We have our sleeves, we have our metal tokens, our coins. So, anything you guys do on there does directly go back into reinvesting into the channel. So, if you're looking for some Magic the Gathering accoutrement, per se, just remember Etsy.com and CMD Tower in that search bar.
And they
Now
make
we're
great gifts for your magic friends and family.
yes, yes, and it's very affordable. I mean, come on, it's like I
Yeah.
think $5 for the coin or $6 for the
Yeah.
coin or the metal tokens. I mean, super cheap. All right, well now we're gonna head over to the hot profile, and I'll kick this one off. I kind of mentioned them earlier, so we'll just get it out of the way. We're talking the Titanate
Yeah.
Kogla.
Number
Gotta
one,
have him
number
in
one the
here.
bullet. Oh wait, three, two, one.
Oh,
I forgot. I was like, I haven't done this in so long. I haven't done this in so long. I was like, what are we doing here? But
all right,
yes,
three
it
colorless,
is.
green, green, green.
Oh, damn it.
65 cents. Have
There's so
fun.
much.
Oh, and it's a 7/6. Have fun with all that text.
There's so much text. Okay. When it ETBs, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. Awesome. Whenever it attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. Awesome. Return colorless and green. Return target human you control to its owner's hand. Kogla gains indestructible until end of turn. I will be talking about a human today. I will be
Oh,
talking
okay.
about one in the yeast. So it's not the best in the world, but still, it's a fringe thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is what S tier ape, maybe the best
Oh,
ever
yeah.
printed. Besides,
Absolutely.
it's like what Ragavan.
Well, I
This,
mean, you could make an argument for Grund or Grund. It's the one that when it attacks alone, it doubles its power and toughness, and
oh
you can
geez, yeah, yeah,
monstrosity
the
it.
lonely king, yeah, that one is
Yeah.
brutal.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's kind of on the face of the card, guys. It does
Yeah,
creature removal when it attacks. It's getting rid of an artifact, filtering, and that's the thing I do like about this is that it might only be a 7/6, and your commander might be a 2/2, and other people have 2/2s, and it's like, okay, well, on attack, I'm gonna blow up your banana,
yeah,
and now everything's an 8/7 and a 3/3 because it doesn't have to do combat
exactly.
damage to actually destroy the artifact. But the flexibility for the enchantment as well is kind of nice. If someone
Yes,
has a oppressive, propaganda or something like that, and you want to be in the
right.
red zone, that flexibility is kind of cool.
I completely agree, and I think I love the synergy between Kibo and this. When you attack, you're gonna get two triggers likely off of it, right? Like
Hmm.
because Kibo's a sacrifice, and then this destroys. So I mean, that can easily come out of nowhere. And now people
Yep.
have, like you were just saying, they have these two giant threats that are just gonna keep getting bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Love
Well,
it.
what is your hop second
So I'm gonna
choice?
do this now. I have my beer Advent beer calendar from Aldi's, or sorry, from the Costco. But the problem is they're all in German, so I don't know what this is. But this is going to be a first Carl Pills from Schlossberg.
I think this is just
Established.
further enforcing you need to move to Germany during the holiday season.
Well, it's funny. I was telling one of my fondest memories. We had a 2 week vacation to Germany over Christmas when I was in college, and me and Nathan were also talking about Nathan Argentina, and we're talking about moving to or Munich together. I think, but probably not going to happen. Anyway, so it's an honorary ape because it's technically a beast, but I love this because, like you said, it's kind of dangerous to give people that much value that quickly. So I
Mhm.
think being able to have something on the ground that's a creature that can kind of slow it down a little bit is going to be really important. That's why I think Manglehorn is going to do some work in this deck. So
Oh,
two colors
okay.
in the green for one of your favorites, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
Two colors in a green for a creature beast. When it ETBs, you may destroy target artifact, getting the triggers, getting rid of a problematic Akuroma's Memorial, so on and so forth. But more importantly, artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped.
Awesome.
So I think, but it's kind of like this card. I think is I think it slows it down, but you don't have to play it immediately, right?
Mhm.
It's not like a if you want to accelerate your monkeys quickly or draw a bunch of cards, you can kind of hold on to it for a little bit
Yep.
once you build your board up. But I love the fact that when an ETB, you're gonna get your counters, and then it just slows everyone else down except for you. So that's why I just think it's a great card in the hop section, just to keep your
Yeah, and
opponents
I
in
mean,
check.
you could borderline argue, Tuck, that this could even be a yeast card
Yeah,
because it's like, okay, I'm late in the game. I need to kind of make sure that they aren't gaining that 2 life off the bananas.
sure.
I'm trying to kill someone. Let me play this guy before I do my activations, and then that way I can still get my banana myself, but then at least all my
Yes.
opponents are tapped out on the bananas. And it's also the same argument I made with your what was that? Descent into Avernus, because that
Yes.
completely eliminates the benefit for your opponents. You don't have to worry about a rift because Manglehorn's gonna have all those treasures come in tapped, and treasures do have to tap and sacrifice, unlike a gold where they can just straight sacrifice it. So I think
Exactly.
this is a sneaky good card in the deck.
Hey.
Heyo. All right. I wanted to put in just a quick, easy way to get a quick, 3 buff. Just a quick 3 buff. And avoid
Three.
our opponents being able to do this in response. Because you know what? You're still going to have to sacrifice an artifact. We're talking Tribute to the Wild. So, Tribute to the Wild is one colorless green. It's an instant, and it says each opponent
Oh,
sacrifices an artifact or enchantment for 9 cents. Super
wow.
cheap,
Yeah.
real powerful because of the sacrifice clause. And if you're not familiar with it, the bananas can tap and sacrifice, and they get the mana and they get the 2 life, but that they can't do that in response to the Tribute of the Wild and have it count for the sacrifice. They still have to sacrifice another artifact.
Another one. Yeah.
Now, they could do the enchantment to kind of get around it, but I think to Tuck and I's point, what we've talked about a lot, enchantment removal is like the hardest type of removal.
Mhm.
So it's like, do you want to anthem me, or do you want to get rid of probably one of your better cards in your deck?
I was just gonna say too, like I think mostly in like a deck in the matchups that you're gonna be playing this against, the decks that are more enchantment heavy, because this is so heavy on artifact removal, are gonna be tough. So a lot of
Hmm.
times you're like it's a 2 for 1 any way you cut it, right? Where it's like you either gonna like if you want to get cute and sack the treasure in response, oh shit, you left open your propaganda. Like you still have to sacrifice it, right?
Yep.
Like it really paints them into a corner like that. And I think you're going to run into cards that are tough with like your omnisciences,
Hmm.
propagandas, all those sort of effects, which are like really running rampant. So I love this. I think this card is kind of not great in a vacuum, but in this deck, it works out. It's going to work to your favor every single time, especially for
Yep.
9 cents
Absolutely.
for 2 mana an instant. Love it.
Yeah, because I mean, to your point, in a vacuum, most people would just sack a treasure, but
Mhm.
and you're like, well, damn, what did that really do at the end of the day? But like here, it's like, okay, well, I still get an anthem. I'm still getting +1
Exactly.
counters on my entire board, and I do love the fact. I mean, it was printed for Commander, so I get why they did the each opponent, but I love that it's 2 mana each opponent.
Mhm.
Normally, something like this, it would be choose target opponent, they
Yeah,
sacrifice an artifact or enchantment. So the fact that you're
absolutely.
getting a 3 for 1, no matter what, is super great.
I think this. I just realized this is like a perfect player pod deck,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Hands
Like
down.
this
Hands
gets way
down.
better the more people you're playing immediately.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, Sir Nathan's Conrad deck. The more
Yeah,
people at the table, the more powerful it becomes.
yeah, absolutely. Just like Sir Nathan himself. All right.
Alright, well, what is your next hop?
So sometimes these gremlins come out, they're playing with toys, and you want to stop them. You got to stop them
Mhm.
playing with toys, right? They're getting too much. They're getting too many treasures from Avernus, and you're ready to just go ham, right? And you can go ham for a very expensive card, unfortunately, but for 1 mana, you can get everyone at the table with a card called "We're melting them down." It's meltdown. You had your toys, you had your fun. I'm taking them away now. So X and a red for a sorcery for $10 from Urza Saga, because this is starting to
Wow.
see like legacy play. Destroy each artifact with mana value X or less. So I love it because again,
Oh yeah.
we're just giving tokens away, right? Here you go. It's Christmas time. We're giving, but like I can take it away, right? And I'm gonna get all the
Yep.
benefit because it's sorcery speed. So I'm gonna sack all of mine, have 9 mana floating, pay 1 for meltdown. You guys are if you pay like and my army's like this is kind of it's kind of the same argument, really. Like this could kind of almost be a yeast card as well,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like mid to late game and you've like your Avernus is giving 6 treasures a turn or whatever, and you're like, all right, well, I'm taking it all back.
So what's so funny about this is it's going to synergize so well with my yeast section to where I think this
Really?
does become a yeast card. Yeah, it effectively blows up the entire board,
Oh
just about.
no. Okay.
So I love that. I think that's super cute.
I- Do you love
And
this journey for us?
I love this journey for us. And we're just going to segue right into my last hop because I
Okay.
kind of did the exact same card,
Oh,
but
nice.
in ape monkey form
Oh,
with,
is it like something shaman, right?
yep, we're talking gorilla shaman.
Nailed it.
One single red creature ape shaman XX1 destroy target non-creature artifact with mana value X.
Oh, and
So
it's a one drop
effectively, I'm just
too.
gonna yeah, and it's a one drop. So I'm just gonna pay 1 mana. Oh, and it's 23 cents.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pay 1 mana and blow up your tokens.
And you can like
Now you'd have
trade
to do 1 mana over and over and
yeah.
over. So I was trying to find some synergies where it's like whenever an artifact goes to any graveyard, you get like a colorless mana. I was trying to find something like that to where you
Yeah,
just repeat, just blow
the
up
the
the entire
the
board. But
super cheese one that comes to mind is like Goldspan Dragon, right? Where it's
mm,
like each treasure's 2, so you pretty much can just trade treasures for free with this card
yeah,
if you want. But yeah, I love the fact that it's a one drop as well, right? Like this is gonna be great late game. It doesn't have to
hmm
tap. I don't know. That's
yeah.
like I think this is also one of like the A S tier gorillas for the deck, right?
Well, and
Or
I
whatever.
would say that, and because it doesn't restrict you to sorcery speed, the cool thing is that you can do it whenever you want. So it's kind of a
Yes,
mana
right.
dump as well. Like
Yeah,
you go
right.
around before the other person's turn, like, okay, well, I saved up 4 mana just in case I needed to heroics intervention or something like that. Well, I nothing happened. Okay, well, I'll just activate this 4 times or 3 times in the heroic intervention example and just blow up
Right.
your 3 bananas that I gave you.
Yep. Toast. Sorry. Sorry,
Yep.
Charlie.
Sorry, not sorry. All right. Well, you got one hop left. What are you doing? You're kind of doing this M theme,
No, I'm
Manglehorn,
done. That's
Meltdown.
I'm done.
Oh, that's right. We shared Kolga.
Yeah,
Well,
we had the big boy.
let's head from the hops over to talk about abyssproxyshop.com. If you guys
Yeah.
are looking for some playtest cards, as we've seen, Wizards has basically said you can do it. And yet they're kind of targeting proxy shops as well and getting them to shut down. So hopefully our friends over at Abyss Proxy Shop are safe from WotC. But you guys should head over there. And if you do decide to make a purchase, use code CMDTower, all one word, to get 10% off your order. They do fully customized decks, which I have multiple of. BigTuck actually won at our Drinkathon a nice fat stack of stuff from Abyss Proxy Shop and other providers. But they have a massive library on there. You can see a lot of cards that I've personally designed, gone out, found like old Japanese woodblock art, and kind of correlated it with Magic the Gathering cards. Usually, it's anywhere from $3 to $6 for a card, depending if you want non-foil to foil or custom to just something that they have in stock. So, if you're looking for a proxy, if you're looking for a playtest card, just always remember abyssproxyshop.com.
And the new thing that they put on, they now offer full sets of almost everything, triomes, bond lands, that
Oh,
sort of things.
nice.
Yeah, so that are all like I think they're like $28, which is 25 with the discount and everything, which is awesome when you because those are expensive, right? No one wants to
Yep.
buy those. Also, remember how I told you I was having problems with their site?
Also, remember how you told me that your cart just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it just disappeared?
That yes, that happened in TCG Player too, so that was a bummer. But Spectrum is blocking them.
Really?
My cable provider. I was like, because I worked at when I was at your place, I pulled them up to show someone, and I was like, wait, it's working now. So yeah, I guess it's a suspicious site according to Spectrum. So I guess I gotta go into my Spectrum app or some horse shit. Thanks.
Jesus.
What a
Thanks,
nightmare.
Spectrum. Well,
Mm,
now we're going to head over to the yeast section. And Big Tuck, which one are you going to start with? So I have four picked just in case if we sync up on some.
okay.
But I'm telling you, man, the yeast section is straight fire. I
Yeah.
think this deck could have some legs.
I am gonna go for fire and start there because what do you do with fire? You light it,
You burn stuff?
you burn it, right? You can maybe control it's a controlled burn, but can you weave it?
You do
We
Fire
can't,
Weaver?
but Reckless Fireweaver sure can. Colorless and a red for a creature, human artificer. There you go. I told you. I told you it's in here. Whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. To each
Ooh,
opponent
nice.
every time. So again, we are giving out gifts. We are also, it's like we're treating ourselves. We're kind of treating
Yeah.
ourselves a little bit. So we're gonna be generating a ton of tokens as well. So being able to ding each opponent for one every single time, and again, if we were running tutors, we're probably going to tutor up Kolga or something like that because he's so strong. So then we can kind of bounce him back and forth, protect our Reckless Fireweaver. But for me, this card's the bottom, the floor is so low because it's only a 2-drop, and the high is like you can burn out 10, 15 damage a turn once you get the engine going.
So, quick pause. Teowa actually commented it in Twitch. It's always the DNS, especially with Spectrum. Google Fiber for the win.
Those bastards. They
Those
didn't.
bastards.
I don't have a choice. I had Google Fiber when I lived in Kansas City, but then they like it's all included in our stupid apartment complex. So
Stupid. Because, yeah, Charlotte has Google Fiber, right?
oh yeah, there's literally
Yeah.
an apartment down the street that has it. Like on the other side of
So,
other
no,
side.
I love this. Do you think with this being a yeast and trying to abuse it, quote unquote, do you think that makes it do you think that's good enough to justify, 3 to 5 cards that deal with whenever your opponent takes damage, they do this?
I was wondering about that because I was like, is Fiery Emancipation really good in this deck, or is
Mhm.
that like you have to build around it? I think it's. I think you'd have to. It's how you want to win, right? Do you want to win this
Mhm.
way, or do you want to win through combat, right? Well, I
Sure.
guess I don't know. I think okay. Hold on. I think yes. I think I just answered my own question. I think the damage doublers is going to be huge in this deck. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. Like the clash of the two gods or dictate of the twin gods or whatever. Those sort of
Mhm.
effects I think are probably going to be pretty strong in here.
Okay. All right. So my first yeast card, it's a little odd. You would say it should be a spice card, but this sword gives us the theme of the deck, but it's also going to protect Kibo, and I think that's going to be critical because this deck is definitely built top down. I think if you don't
Yeah.
have Kibo out, the deck is just trash.
Yeah.
So being able to protect it also, what's the most common form of a red board wipe? Damage.
Artifact. Oh, damage.
So Sword of Sinew and Steel, I think, is sneaky
Ooh.
good in here. Three colorless
Yeah.
for $8. It's a mythic. Artifact equipment equipped for 2. It gets +2/+2 and has protection from black and from red. So if you do your blasphemous acts, Kibo will at
Yeah.
least stick around. And then whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy up to 1 target planeswalker and up to 1 target artifact. So you're going to get the sacrifice from Kibo, then it's going to deal damage, and then you're going to destroy something else. And
Yeah.
so, just on every single one of his combats, and most likely you're going to get through, I would hope, you're going to be antheming your board by +2 with your apes and
Yeah.
monkeys. So, you could make an argument for hops or yeast. To me, being able to make sure that our commander is always protected as we're blowing up the board with our
Yep.
blasphemous acts and things like that, I think is really critical, and being able to always add an additional artifact destruction for that extra buff is also pretty cool.
Completely agreed. And this deck is going to be, it's got a kind of a bad matchup for this deck is like a fast token deck, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of those outside of elves, like zombies,
Yep.
goblins, those are both like those kind of pretty popular tribes are black and red. So being able to
Mhm.
swing through that and you're not just going into endless chump after endless chump after endless chump, I think kind of gives this card a big buff too.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, what is your next yeast card?
All right, I got a monkey. I got a monkey, and then I got an artifact. So
Okay.
this one is brand new from Brothers War. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a monkey, it's a goblin. I've lied. So I've talked about one monkey this entire time and two other ones. But this one's so good. So um this one is gonna be a big strong man himself, And then also he is going to punish. He's going to continue to punish by damage, which is why I completely agree with you that we need those damage doublers or triplers in here. We're talking about our boy Sardian Avenger. So it's a colorless and a red for a Goblin Warrior. It's a $1.20. It's a 1/1. First strike and trample. When it attacks, it gets plus X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifacts your opponents control, which is good. But what we're really here for is whenever an artifact an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to that player. So again, we're punishing. It's like the same thing. Like we're letting you do whatever you want, right? Like
Hmm.
we're not prohibiting you yet from using these artifacts and these toys we're giving you. But if you're dicking around with them and you're using them
Yep.
for ill, you're gonna pay the piper. You're gonna hurt yourself. We're gonna have to return it to the store so I can get my money back withdrawing the card. So that's why I like this card so much in here, right? The attack trigger is okay-ish, right? Like it can kind of be maybe a finisher, but I just love the fact for that static. Whenever they're sacrificing artifacts, they're paying the piper for it.
Well, I actually like the attack trigger, and here's why. Because it's putting a modal choice into your opponent's hands. You've been
Mm,
giving them treasures, you've been giving them bananas all game. You're attacking with this guy, and it's like, all right, 10-1, first strike trample. Do you want to
yeah.
sacrifice your whole board? Oh, you did? Well, now I got 10+1/+1 counters on
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of my monkeys and apes. It's kind of that closed fist
And you all
open
take 10
hand.
damage or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like the open hand is just take the 10 from the
Yeah.
first strike trample and just deal with it. But then the closed fist is if they don't think about it, oh, well, my monkey, oh my gosh, no, because it makes it a modal choice for your opponent to where you send your Kibo at one opponent and the Sardian at another. And the
Oh.
Sardian, it's like, hey, you could save your life if you just sacrifice all
Yeah.
my stuff. But then this opponent's going to get screwed. And then it causes
He's
like a
gonna get
feud between
hammered.
them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I love it.
It's a sweet card, right? Like I thought it was a nice little inclusion here, even though I wrongly thought it was a monkey. But what are you gonna do?
Well, I don't know how you thought it was a monkey because it looks nothing like a monkey,
It
but
looks it
hey,
looks like a
uh,
goblin.
yeah, my simian similar chrome looks nothing like an ape, so here we are. I'm shocked you're not talking about this card. You know there's a cat ape, right?
Oh yeah, yes, I do know
How
that
did
one.
you not talk about ferocious tigerilla?
Tiger because he doesn't. He's not cat enough.
What do you mean? He looks like a cat and an ape.
No wait,
Three
what?
colorless, red, 2 pennies, creature cat ape. It's a 4/3. When it ETBs, your choice of a trample counter
Tiger.
or a menace counter on it, and that's why I think it's in the Yeast
Yeah,
card. Is you're going to need things beyond just your own commander to be able to get in for damage, and being able to have the
yeah,
flexibility of like, okay, is the trample more important because they got like a crap ton of creatures, like a bunch of tokens, and so I just
yeah,
need to be able to get some damage through? Or is this other person maybe doing more spell slinging, maybe more planeswalkers, and they maybe only have their Atraxa as their commander?
yes,
So the menace
right.
is more important. But this guy, being an ape for some stupid reason, getting all of those anthem counters on all the +1s. I mean, it's not unrealistic to think that this is a 10-9 slapping
Oh yeah.
people with menace or trample.
Easy 10-9. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Like you said, you need cards like this just to get you need to win, right? This deck is going to
Mhm.
win through combat probably. So having just a big dumb beater like this that's on curve, that's going to get massive pretty quickly. Chef's kiss. Mwah.
Yep.
Love it.
All right. What is your last yeast card?
Okay. This is my most degenerate one because I don't like playing these. There's a whole cycle of them, and they're all just infinite combo enablers. I'm sure there's some rigmarole here that you can just go infinite, right? Like, I don't remember, who knows, right? But I think that this is going to be a card that you're just going to get insane value off of, again, just by playing the game. And
Okay.
that card is a station that's $28 that'll
Okay.
grind you up because we're talking about grinding station.
Uh,
So two colorless for an artifact, tap, sack an artifact, target player mills 3 cards, and then whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, you may untap grinding station. So, like I said, we're gonna have
seems
so much use
good.
for. We're gonna have so many artifacts floating around here, right? Our
Mhm.
treasures, our bananas getting doubled, and now like this turns into a machine gun, right? Like I don't
Mhm.
know if there's ways to make it go infinite in this deck as opposed to like some dedicated infinite combo decks. But I
Sure.
just think the value out of here, out of $1,000,003, $1,000,009, $1,000,012 a turn or something like that. I mean, that like as your favorite card of all time has proven time and time again, like that adds up, right? And you don't
Yep.
think about it, 1,000,003, 1,000,006, but you mill 12, that's over a tenth of your deck, right?
Mhm.
Gone, unless you're playing a reanimator. So I think it's kind of a little sneaky trick. It's a little dirty one out there. So I like it. I'm not gonna pay $28 for it, but
Yeah, I think it's one of I actually I don't know if there's infinite in this deck with it, but I do think that there's gonna be good synergy because it's kind of like you and I talked about offcast with Optimus Prime, having all the
yeah.
triggers kinda stack up with the multiple bolsters. You tap Kibo, you immediately have 3 untapped grinding station triggers on the stack because that's
Right,
oh, no,
exactly.
sorry, 4 because each player is
Oh,
getting an artifact banana. And then, you with your parallel lives, with your doubling season, your primal vigors, that's going to give you more artifacts to sack. And there will be a
mhm,
point at the game where it's like, I don't really need the mana and I don't
yeah,
really need the life. I just need the game to end. So you'll just
right.
start sacking your bananas and stuff to this. Plus, this goes well with one of my spice cards.
Audible gasp. All right,
Audible
you
gas.
got. Do you have one or two more left? You got
I
two,
got
right?
two.
Okay,
So we're gonna go with this one. Very cute, but I do think we're gonna have a lot of creatures dying because the monkeys are gonna be big. I mean, it's just what shit is. So this
sure.
enchantment for 6 mana, but only 24 cents, is gonna be really critical. Death's Presence.
Oh
5
yeah, this is
colorless
really good.
green enchantment rare. Whenever a creature you control dies, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the power of the creature that died. So it's like, hey,
Yeah,
you get rid of Kibo because he was an 8. Well, I'm going to put 8 counters on another gorilla or another
yeah.
8, or your goddamn goblin with first strike and trample. And then you get rid of that. Well, now I'm going to shift it over. It just
yeah.
it's almost a little bit like the Ozolith, where it's like,
hmm
yeah, you can get rid of all the creature with all the counters and stuff, but it's just going to go here, and I'm just going to put it somewhere else.
Yeah. And again, like this plays nicely into specifically like the doubling season and primal vigors of the world because now
Hmm.
you're getting even more counters for when they die, right?
Yep,
So again, these
absolutely.
are things that these are just cards that you're going to play. So you might as well get even more value out of it. I love it. I hate that I feel like this card if it got printed now would probably cost 5 instead of 6 because that's the only
Hmm.
thing that's the thing I've never loved about this card, right? Like it's
Yep.
so much mana, but again, it can be so like it can be so like tough to get around depending on the the way that you set yourself up. So I guess it kind of
And,
makes sense it's that expensive.
and the fact that we're in GRUUL, which has green, I don't think mana is ever going to be truly an issue.
True.
Plus, our commander's giving us mana, but I do
Yeah, yeah,
agree. I,
yeah.
I feel like for 6 mana, maybe you'd have to go to 7, but it should almost be whenever a creature dies, put X +1/+1
Yep.
counters. Where X is the power of the creature that died. I think that's probably more appropriate. And I do think for only your board, it should be 4 or 5, or
hmm
maybe even if they wanted to errated it to 4 mana, it's whenever a non-token creature you control dies.
Sure.
Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. If it was designed today, I think it'd be designed a little bit different.
For sure.
And
For
you know
sure.
what? I'm gonna scratch the other East card because looking at it, I don't want to talk about it. It's not that great. Especially since you
Okay.
haven't talked about a single, or you've talked about one GD, ape, or monkey. So we're just gonna head over to Spice, and I'm gonna start this off with the card that I've been super excited to talk about. It's a very popular card. So, but I don't know, Tuck, if you thought about this card when you were doing your show notes. So, what's a great way to make everything an artifact?
Oh, is it no? Are you doing it? Are we doing
Oh
it?
yeah, Mycosynthillatus, baby.
All right, fine.
6 colorless artifact. All permanents are artifacts in addition to their
Forty
other types. All
dollars.
Yeah. All cards that aren't on the battlefield, spells and permanents are colorless. Players may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. Um, I, I just don't know how you. It's kind of like doubling season and parallel lives and primal vigor. I don't know how you're building this deck without lattice, because
Yeah.
could you
Yeah. Yeah.
imagine doing lattice, um, putting the sword of sinew and steel on Kibu, and doing your blasphemous act?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It would probably become a one-shot commander at that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
It's so insanely strong in here. I will say there is the risk of the players may spend mana as though it were mana of any color, because then it allows your opponents to effectively kind of play whatever they want without being color
Yeah. Right.
restricted. But I think your upside is so much higher, but that's why it's in the spice. Because it could be the closed fist for yourself,
Yeah.
but
Right.
oh my gosh.
Well,
Hey,
okay.
you crack your Terramorphic Expanse on turn 10, that's another counter.
So I had a similar thought of that. So I'll just get it out of the way. One of my spices was Karn the Great Creator, which goes into the
Ah,
Microsith lock. So, for those who don't know, 4 colorless for Legendary Planeswalker card, 5 loyalty. Activated abilities of opponents your opponent's control can't be activated. That's pretty much what you're running it for. +1 until your next turn. Up to 1 target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its mana value. -2, you may reveal an artifact card you own from outside the game or choose a face-up artifact card you own in exile. Put the card in your hand. $15. This thing's flying up. So if you have this in Lattice, it's kind of like over for the most
well,
part.
but do you now that I've talked about Lattice, did you think about the card you talked about earlier? Meltdown
Oh god!
blows up
Oh
all
god!
the
Oh
lands.
god! I'm at meltdown for 6.
No, you just melt down for 0. It blows up all their lands, all their
Oh
tokens. It gets
shit!
everything. Everything
Yeah,
is an artifact. It's not non-land permanents or
it's
artifacts.
like Jockle Hops, and if you're so far ahead with your creatures, you're like, I don't care, I can lose my lands. Who
But it
cares?
doesn't but you think about it, it doesn't matter even if you're that far ahead, as long as you have Kibu out, Kibu
Oh
then
jeez!
becomes like a 30/30, and no one has any
Right.
mana to respond with.
Ugh. Oh god.
And because everything's an artifact, even if they did have some creatures out, now when Kibu goes, they have to sacrifice one of their creatures because it's an artifact.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
And effectively,
God, that's
then it's just like, do
brutal.
you guys want to keep playing, or because I
Yeah,
mean, you're only gonna, I'm gonna be able to hit you more times than you're gonna be able to hit me,
yeah,
and I'm just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
right. Exactly. And I'm gonna keep getting the value out of I like at that point you're like, I don't even need to cast. I don't even need to make bananas.
Yeah,
So that's
exactly.
that's spicy. I like that. What do you think about Karn and just on its own? So the reason
Um, I
my thought was it's kind of like I th- I think it's a card that you can kind of hold on to in hand because a lot of the things we're talking about are dealing with them playing the things that we're giving them, right? Sacrificing artifacts for mana, we're drawing cards and that sort of thing.
mhm.
So in the wrong time, I think Karn can kind of cut you off from that side of the house. Do you think it's too do you think it's too risky to play?
No, because one of the cards I didn't put it in my notes, but I do think things like put it up for our YouTube and Twitch audience. Collector Oofy, I
I
actually
was
thought
gonna
about putting in here as well, but that's more
right.
of a okay, it's turn 10. I don't want them to be using the bananas, but I want to use the bananas. Collector Oofy. Oh, I guess you can't even do it with Oofy, but same type of premise though. Like I still want to be able to like do
Yeah.
what I want, but I don't want to have to worry about the treasures that they're getting from your card earlier or using the bananas to be able to maybe get enough health to stay
Right.
ahead.
Right.
So
Right.
I
Right.
do think this card and Oofy are good late plays when it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't want you guys doing any more of that stuff. I got my fun out of it. It's time to close out. Let's get it
Yeah.
out, just like a
And
Stony
this
Silence.
they're just cards that you're just holding on to, right?
Yeah, same thing with
You're
Null
just like,
Rod. You can have that in the deck
oh
as well for later
yeah,
in the game. So I do think you want some artifact hate universally at some point, just so then that way you can actually close out.
right. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, having you don't need to run all of them, but having a couple just for the late
Yep,
game, I like it. I like it a
absolutely.
lot. Nice.
All right. Well, I have one more spice. Um,
Wait,
it's a
okay, I'm gonna
module.
cut you off. I'm gonna cut you off of the pass. I'm gonna cut you off of the pass here. I have another spice as well, and we're all just gonna say it, and then we're gonna be done with it. Alter the Brood, probably really good in the deck. So your last spice is what?
Yes. I don't know. I mean, for the people that don't know what Alter the Brood is,
Oh
why don't you read
god.
off that card?
Why don't you do it from memory?
One colorless artifact. Whenever a permanent enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent mills one card.
Nailed one.
Absolutely
Do you
not.
have the flavor text?
Absolutely not.
Uh $5. The promo is 28 now.
I'm so upset at myself because the promo used to be 5, and I was like, I'm not paying $5 for this, or it was 10. It was something like that. Now it's $28. Jesus.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Okay. So I just want to get that. I want to get that out of the way. What is your last sneaky one?
All right, my last sneaky one is it's a cool artifact from Kaladesh. You can get it for 84 cents. I do think it's a perfect spice card because it's like it kind of fits the deck and it could kind of help a little bit, but it definitely might be card 101, 102. We're talking
Sure.
animation module. Single colorless artifact. It's a rare. Whenever one or more +1 counters are put on or placed on a
Oh,
permanent you control, you may pay 1 colorless. If you do, create a 1/1 servo artifact creature token, and then you can pay 3 colorless tap, choose a counter on target permanent or player, give that permanent or player another counter of that kind.
right.
I mean, once I guess that is a mana sink at the end. Hey, I don't have anything to do. I got 4 mana. Okay, I'll pay 3, add an additional counter, and then I'll pay 1 to get a servo.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be doing the counter things so often that having additional blockers could be helpful because I mean we don't have tons of apes and monkeys to pick from,
Yep.
and I don't think you could build this deck well just having Kibo kind of be the only ape or monkey.
Right.
You need probably 15 of the 40 just to make it at least kind of
Yeah.
worthwhile, and
Yeah.
then
I
maybe
agree with
even
that.
5 additional changelings.
Mhm.
So having a way to produce 1/1 tokens for blockers, or even sacrifice fodder to your grinding station.
I was just gonna say like that those servers are gonna burn people out with Reckless Fireweaver at all, right?
Yep.
They're gonna turn into blockers. They're gonna be fodder for grinding station. One of what I just realized is like the best changeling in this deck, Tolarian Mauler.
I
Like
mean,
that
honestly, that's arguably the best changeling, period.
period. It's just in any deck. If only they gave it trample. It's a Mauler for God's sakes. But no, okay. So back to I actually think I agree with you. I think animation module is a really good card in the deck, but it kind of like it's like what's an analogy? Like okay, follow me here. On trains, they have those big things that like ride the wheels, right? That's like
Hmm.
or they used to when trains had wheels. So I feel like it's like that, where it's like you need that, but those don't work without the engine first, right?
Correct.
So this card when it gets going is probably really good, right? And it's part
Yep.
of this whole thing. But there's gonna be times where you draw it and you're just like, I really wish this was a rampant growth or
Yeah.
birds of paradise or whatever the case may be there. So
And that's
but I
why I
like it.
feel like
I
it's
like it.
that's why I feel like it's the perfect 101, 102
Yeah.
card in your list, because it's like, okay, do I really need another Croson Grip type of effect, or would I rather just have this? Or,
Yeah. Yep.
maybe instead of having the 3 doublers, it's like, you know what? Maybe I don't do parallel lives and I just do doubling season and primal vigor, and then I include animation module instead. So I do think it's one of those cards that'll sit
Yeah.
there, and I mean the card's so cheap,
Yeah, it's a
at
buck.
84 cents. Yeah, I mean, you could buy it, and if it doesn't work in this deck, it being colorless, you'll have another deck that you could probably put it in.
There's so many decks that care about counters or artifacts, ETBs, those sort of things. So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. That's a
And
great spice. Great
s-
spice.
sneaky thing, because usually they do this to kind of prevent people from abusing it. Whenever 1 or more +1 counters are
Hmm.
placed on a permanent you control, you may pay 1. Because usually it's like, okay, I did 10, I have 10 mana, let me make 10 servos. Well, it's going to see each permanent, each monkey and ape you put
Right.
it on. So if you have 5 mana and you had 5 monkeys, you can get 5 servos as well.
And it should be if everyone sacks their treasures at the same time, it's the
All
same
different
thing, right?
triggers. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's so funny. Like it's this so rarely happens where a spice is so good, right? Where but like
Mhm.
it doesn't fit into any of the other categories,
Yep.
right? Like it's a really good card for the deck where you're just like doesn't really like advance your board state. It doesn't really interact. Like you can't
Mhm.
really win with it, but it's just like it could be really good in the right build here.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks for making it until the end of the episode, everyone. And if you enjoyed it, please leave whatever star review makes other people want to listen to us as well. Leave some sweet comments. And if you'd like to get a hold of us, maybe even ask questions about the deck, here's how you can do that. You can get a hold of me at MrComboNumber5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. BigTuck. I'm assuming you're not doing any bits, but since you are the Grinch, I would say maybe weekly you do a controversial Christmas post about a movie you believe is Christmas.
I do like that. I'm trying to do more film Twitter posts. Because that's like I think that it's a little bit more fun than just like seeing the magic stuff all the time. I did post twice yesterday, if you can believe that sort of thing.
Audible
It came to
gasp.
me in a rush. It came to me in a rush. And the official Xbox channel did respond to one of my tweets.
How'd that make
Yeah.
you feel?
So it makes me feel great. I am at BigTuck tweeting on the Twitter. You can see me there posting in a rush when I get inspiration, I suppose.
You can always get our main account where you'll see when we go live, collaborating with other collaborators, or just random thoughts from Mr. T around Magic the Gathering at CMD Tower on Twitter as well. We will have the article, YouTube videos, and all the links and stuff posted at our website, cmdtower.com/BNBE163. And remember, if you're looking to support us, there's a myriad of ways you could do that. Patreon.com/CMDTower, Etsy.com, CMD Tower in the search box, and AbyssProxyShop.com using code CMD Tower at checkout for 10% off your order. All three ways are ways that you can help out Tuck and I constantly reinvest into the platform, be able to help sponsor us to go to Magic Fest, be able to jam games like with a bunch of people like we did at MTG Vegas. Plus, be able to get more products for you guys to be able to acquire through our Patreon program. So all are great ways to do that. So Tuck, Kibu, Ukatabi Prince, aka Gremlins. First question: do you feel like we did the theme of the deck?
Yes, I think that we did, right? Because I
I
think
think
this
we did
is
too.
this is it's not like someone said this is like an awkward hug deck, like an awkward hug from your uncle, right? Because it's not
Yeah.
really a group slug and it's not really a group hug because you're not like outside of the microsense like in rigmarole that we talked about, you're not really stopping them from doing anything, but you're
Hmm.
kind of like, hey, like I'm gonna give you this stuff, but if you want to abuse it, right, if you want to feed it
Yep.
after midnight, then like you're gonna have to pay the consequences, and I'm built for that.
Absolutely.
So this is when this card got printed. This is a card I really want to jump on. Unfortunately, someone else in my play group is also going to make this, so we're just got to. I guess I'm just got to make mine better. But I
Well,
thought no, I
how
love it.
do you guys do the rule in Charlotte where if one person builds a legend, no one else can?
Uh, it's like unspoken, right? People
Okay.
like people are like, I really want to do that, especially like the ones where it's more common is like pre-cons and things like that, right? I
Sure.
mean, there's so many effing legends that get printed now. It's kind of a fruitless endeavor to like call dibs on them. But like,
Yeah.
especially when pre-cons come out, a lot of times people will be like, "I'm interested in building this pre-con just to keep it out there." But
Sure.
we play fairly irregularly, and like with streaming and coming home for the holidays, like there's plenty of places to do it. So
Yeah.
it's a like a gentleman's rule, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
Like
I see it.
don't snipe it out from other people. But I know you're more lukewarm on the commander as a whole than me, right? You're less excited for it. So what did you think? What like how did you feel when you were like researching cards for this and like after hearing about like the cards I brought up and the sort of synergies I had as well? Like does it change your opinion on it at like a
A little
big
bit.
scale? Okay.
Yeah. I would say with the list that I had put together, I was like, I'm trying to go into this gremlin thing as much as I can, and I think the deck is fine. But I think the ads that you did really complemented the ones that I did as well, and vice versa,
Yeah, I
to
agree.
where we actually have something here. And I the more we talked about it, and the more we kind of talked about what Kibu wants, I think sneakily this is kind of a gremlin deck no matter what, because even the whole feed them after midnight thing, it's like, hey, like, the rules, don't crack artifacts and don't put artifacts in the graveyard or my stuff's going to get bigger. It's like,
Yeah.
well, they could remove Kibu, and then it's like eating before midnight. It's like you're feeding your gremlin before
Yeah.
midnight because nothing bad is happening. But then it's like after midnight, if you guys are letting Kibu stay out, things are just going to get hairy.
Hmm.
So I think that was super cool. I do think there needs to be probably more. I mean, I wish there was a like we have in Demir, the enchantments that make all creatures all types. I wish we had that in
Oh,
Gruul, because then that would make, the animation module that much better.
yeah.
Being able to have all those be apes and
Yeah.
monkeys.
And
Hopefully,
we only have Maskwood Nexus, I think, is the only one that does it in
hmm,
colorless, right?
yeah,
And it's like you're now you're like, okay, do I want to build around one card in colors that can't really tutor for artifacts efficiently?
yeah. And so I think it's really fun. I think it's super interesting, and I really do like the. I'm giving you guys. It's kind of like your lock deck. I'm giving you all this
Yep.
extra mana, and then once your lock comes out, it's like shit. I don't want that extra mana. I don't want your gifts anymore.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a very cool dynamic with the deck.
Hell yeah. No, I love it.
All
I
right.
think I'm definitely looking forward to building this. I think this is going to be a really, really fun deck to play in the group here.
Bigger question: are you going to put a lattice in it? Before you answer, we're out of here.
Okay, good. We're done there.